Ladies and gentlemen, I need you to stop whatever is distracting you for a moment and listen, really listen, because what I'm about to say isn't just another speech, isn't just another set of words to inspire you for a few moments before you go back to life as usual. No, this is a message for your heart, a reminder for your soul, a wake-up call for your spirit. Some of you have been walking through life carrying burdens so heavy that you've started to believe that maybe, just maybe, God has forgotten about you. You've been fighting battles that seem never-ending. You've been hoping, praying, crying, and yet nothing seems to change. But hear me when I say this. Nothing can stop God's plan for your life. Not your past, not your mistakes, not the people who walked away. Not the failures, not the delays, not the struggles, not even you. God's plan is greater than any obstacle standing in your way. His purpose for you is stronger than the doubt in your heart. His promises are more powerful than the fear that keeps you up at night. I know some of you feel stuck right now. Some of you are questioning if you're even on the right path. This life is throwing you curveballs, disappointment after disappointment, and you're wondering, God, do you even see me? Do you hear me? Do you care? Oh, He sees you, He hears you, and more than that, He has already made a way for you. The enemy can delay you, but he can detain you. Let me tell you something. When God has placed a calling on your life, the enemy will do everything in his power to make you believe that you are not worthy, that you are not ready, that you are not enough. It will send distractions, disappointments, detours. It will use people to discourage you. It will use circumstances to frustrate you. It will try to make you question if you're even meant for greatness. But let me remind you, the enemy does not have the final say. Joseph was thrown into a pit by his own brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused, locked away in prison. But did that stop God's plan for him? No, it was all a setup for his breakthrough. He went from the pit to the palace because God's plan cannot be stopped. Daniel was thrown into a den full of hungry lions because he refused to bow to anyone but God. But did the lions harm him? No, because God's plan cannot be stopped. Moses had a speech problem. David was just a shepherd boy. Esther was an orphan. Paul was a persecutor of Christians before he became one of the greatest apostles. Over and over again, the Bible reminds us that it's not about where you start, it's about where God is taking you. And some of you need to hear this today. You are not too broken to be used by God. You are not too far gone for His grace. You are not too late for His purpose. You are exactly where you need to be for what He is preparing to do next in your life. Don't let fear keep you from your destiny. Fear is one of the greatest weapons the enemy uses to stop us from stepping into our God-given purpose. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of not being good enough. Some of you have dreams in your heart that you haven't pursued because fear has convinced you that you won't succeed. Some of you have an idea, a vision, a mission that God has placed inside of you, but you've been sitting on it because you're waiting for the right time. Let me tell you something. If God gave you the dream, then it is already blessed. If God gave you the vision, then He has already made provision for it. If God called you to it, then He will see you through it. But you have to move. You have to step out in faith. You have to trust that He who started a good work in you will be faithful to complete it. Stop waiting for the perfect conditions. Stop waiting for the fear to go away. Move anyway, trust anyway, walk in faith anyway, because if you let fear keep you in the same place, you might miss out on the very blessing that God has been trying to give you. God's timing is perfect, and when it doesn't feel like it, knows some of you have been waiting for that breakthrough, waiting for that opportunity, waiting for that door to open, and maybe you're getting tired. Maybe you're wondering, God, when? How much longer? I get it. Waiting is hard, especially when you see other people getting their blessings while you're still in the waiting room. But can I tell you something? Just because you don't see movement doesn't mean God isn't working. Some of the greatest blessings require preparation. Some of the biggest breakthroughs take time. Some of the most powerful testimonies come from seasons of waiting. When Joseph was in prison, he had no idea that God was positioning him for a palace. When Ruth was gathering scraps in the field, she had no idea that God was leading her to her future husband Boaz. When Job was losing everything, he had no idea that God was setting him up for double the blessing. God's timing may not always make sense, but his plan is always perfect. And when your time comes, when that door finally opens, when the blessing finally arrives, you will look back and understand why the wait was necessary. Your breakthrough is coming. Keep the faith. If you're tired, keep going. If you're discouraged, keep praying. If you feel like giving up, remember who you are and whose you are. You were not created to live in fear. You were not created to settle for less. You were not created to give up halfway through the journey. You were created for greatness. God has already gone ahead of you. He has already made a way. He has already spoken victory over your life. And I don't know who needs to hear this today, but that storm you're in, it won't last forever. That burden you're carrying, God is about to lift it. That dream you've been holding on to, it's about to come to pass. But you have to believe it, because faith isn't just about seeing. It's about believing when you can't see. It's about trusting when nothing makes sense. It's about walking forward even when the road ahead looks uncertain. And when your breakthrough comes, and trust me, it will, don't forget to look back and say, God, I see now. You were with me the whole time. So I leave you with this. Nothing can stop God's plan for you. Not the obstacles, not the delays, not the enemy, not even your own doubts. Stand firm, stay faithful.